Oh, what about an MOT? It doesn't matter, does it? You know, it doesn't need an MOT. And then you have something like that, and then that bursts, doesn't it? That's it, you've lost all your hydraulics, so you've got no brakes. So the UK MOT is something that strikes fear into the heart of many car owners, isn't it? You know, and it's definitely a revenue raiser for many garages, isn't it? You know, saying, oh, you know, this needs doing and that needs doing, and half the time none of it needs doing. And it's it's in you know, open to interpretation, the rules, you know. So it's a thing. But you think about it, it's safety, isn't it? It's about the safety of your vehicle. And, you know, if you could have an annual MOT yourself, you know, for your health, that'd be a wonderful thing, wouldn't it? You know, the wonder that is the NHS. You know, you imagine if they were able to do that, and how we could, you know, preempt many things with something like that. But the poor lot are in enough trouble as it is, aren't they? Struggling to keep up as it is. So, you know, and I won't hear anyone running down our NHS because. For all its faults, I've known people that are old enough to have lived before the NHS, and that was a very, very different world. And for anyone in America that hasn't got health insurance, they'll know what I'm talking about. You know, you're pretty stuffed out there if you haven't got the insurance to pay for it. So I think it's a wonderful thing, and we should look after it and make more of it. Anyway, it was MOTs and cars I was talking about, wasn't it? We're off subject there. Anyway, enough of my social soapboxing and all that. Soapbox socialism, you've heard it before. But anyway, the thing about the MOT is that with classic cars, you know, they're now exempt from an MOT, so you don't have to get them checked. And that, I think, is very dodgy. And to elaborate on that, we'll have a look at this one, which is a lovely car, beautiful Fiat 130. Now, I really like these 130s. I think they're a grossly underrated car. You know, absolutely wonderful thing.
It's like someone's posh living room.
It's what they call the teddy bear interior.
Oh.
This one. It's a good colour, the teddy bear interior, the velour. Yeah, very posh car, these. Pope had one, and I actually had a saloon. But yeah, the coupe is a really elegant car. It's very underrated. We really ought to keep it secret because they're a bit of a bargain for how special they are. Now, I think Martin Buckley's got doing a book on them, which will be good. That'll be exciting to read. Of course, I do bits on Martin as well. I've had one myself, I've really enjoyed it, miss it. But this is one of the best ones I've ever seen, very nice original condition. But it's hiding some issues, and some issues that were potentially lethal, which is what we're sorting out. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. But whilst I'm wobbling on about MOTs, there's been talk of making the MOT every 2 years. Well, you know, that can be a huge mileage on a modern car without it being looked at, you know, and on a you know, Rep's car, you know, you could do 50,000 miles in 2 years easily, you know. Now, that type of car's probably been serviced in the meantime, so would have picked up, safety checks would have been done, you know, and so on. But there's other things that, you know, are on sort of their last legs already, you know. So if you, let's take that Rep's car, 50,000 miles, you know, in 2 years, so 75,000 miles in 3 years, without needing an MOT, because it doesn't need an MOT till it's 3 years old. Then it goes out into, you know, just into the public, someone owns it and so on. Now, if it was another 2 years, you know, after that initial MOT at 3 years old, another 2 years, you know, that car could have travelled some huge mileage by then and could be really quite iffy. So I think it's a, you know, it's a folly, you know, to not look after these things properly. And, you know, back onto the test itself. Now they've got this single tester thing now, so the tester doesn't have a helper. So the procedures change slightly. So again, what we're looking at here, now that could be missed, I reckon, on an MOT. You know, maybe not, but you know, it depends on the tester. And if that was missed, again, you know, goes in 1 year, gets missed, then, oh, well, it's a classic car, doesn't need an MOT. I MOT'd it last year. We've only done a couple of 100 miles in it. Oh, let's not worry this year. Then next thing you know, brake failure, you know. Now, not only safety issues and, you know, who could get hurt, could ruin it, couldn't it? Runs into the back of something, that'd be the end of it. So, yeah, I think we should, you know, I advise my customers to have their old classics MOT'd, even if I'm looking after them, because I think a second pair of eyes on it is a good idea. Also, there's no argument, is there? If the car is involved in some sort of accident or whatever, the insurance company can't turn around and say, oh, you haven't been maintaining it properly. It's like, no, we've maintained it. You know, here's the invoices, and it's also had a UK MOT. You know, particularly for the cars that are touring. You know, if they go abroad and something happens, it's like, well, we've done all our due diligence, we did what we could. You know, there can't be any wriggle room. So I advise everyone to do it, you know, regardless. And I can see how you can sort of say, oh, yeah, I don't have to pay road tax and I don't have to MOT it. And, you know, economic to run, a little classic car, you know. But I think this is folly. And like I say, you know, if you could get an annual MOT for your own health, it'd be a good thing, wouldn't it? You'd catch all sorts of things before they came a problem. But anyway, let's have a look at this one, and you'll see why, you know, I'm alarmed by how this stuff can happen. Right, so we're up in the air, and we can have a sort of a quick once over this. So, you know, it's a nice thing. It's been in good condition. You know, we're hoping for this to be a good thing, aren't we? So, on a visual check, you know, we've got brake pipes to look at. Well, they're all in good fettle. Brake hoses, you know, they're quite shiny here, aren't they? They look quite new. You know, the cadmium plating's quite good on them. So if we go up here, you know, cables, handbrake cable all looks good. These torsion bars for suspension looks good. You know, these brake hoses, you know, they look pretty good, don't they? You know, nothing much to see there. You can check all the ball joints, all the usual stuff. So nothing really, you know, it's like, again, you know, these look quite good. It looks like it's been cared for. You know, these look fairly good condition. You know, at a glance, you'd say, oh, that's all pretty good. But obviously what you want to do when you're you know, testing things like this is what you really want to do is you want someone pushing down on the brake to see if you've got any issues with these, with they're sort of delaminated and ballooning out, because I've seen it before where the inside structure breaks down and then when you put your foot on the brake they sort of balloon out and cause a problem, you know, so you sort of effectively it sort of bursts internally and then it's just the outside and then it swells up. So externally they can look all right. But on the modern MOT with a single person testing them, you now use a sort of wedge something under the pedal to sort of do what would be that test. So you've put a sort of thing on there and it like a ram affair thing, and that pushes down on the brake pedal. But you can't push it as hard as if you had someone sat in the car doing it. And that's where I think you'd come unstuck with this one. So they all look good. And so on. But what I've done is I've done various work on the brakes on this. I've replaced the masts and well, not replaced it, I took it off and had it sleeved and then put it back on and bled it up. But I was still having a slightly sort of long travel on the pedal. It wasn't good. It wasn't, you know, quite what I'd hoped for. But of course, you know, when I first looked at it, I'd looked at all this and thought, oh, this is all right. Well, because I've got this long pedal travel, I've looked harder, and I've had a friend here one day and I said, look, you get in the car and push down on that pedal when I say, and I'm going to look at these, and so I'm sort of pulling all these around, you know, and trying to see if I can get anything to sort of, looks like it delaminated or, you know, anything going wrong, and also, you know, and looking for something that might cause this long travel. And that's when I discovered the culprit. You know, we got into this area here. So behind these covers here, you have hoses up in here, little hoses, and that's to do with the articulation of the rear axle here. So you've got, you know, obviously the front ones flex with the turning of the axle and moving up and down the suspension and so on. And then on the back we've got a similar thing. Now these hoses I feel are a bit long. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But you know, I couldn't see anything wrong with them. But this one, see up in here you can't see a lot, but there's a little bit on the edge of here where it looks a bit kinked there, it doesn't look quite right. And you know, I'm not sure if that looks wet or not really, but this is where we had an issue. But yeah, again, you look at the cadmium plating on it, it all looks quite recent, this stuff, you know, all looks quite new. Now obviously it could be old, it could have been on there a while, but let's take this off to get a better angle of it. And then you can see what I've been having the issue with. So if I let it down, the ramp down, and then I'll go up and we'll have a test of it and you can see what's going on. Right, if I press it down, you should see the fluid leak out of there, and then let it back and it's drawing it back in. Is that doing it? Right, well that's it then, isn't it? You can see what I'm on about now? So that's what has been happening. So let's have a closer look at it now and we can push it around. So yeah, look, you see it's all sort of ballooned up there. It doesn't look nice at all, does it? You know, so it's obviously broken internally somewhere. Look, you see? And it's a bit wet round there. Now you could take a guess at that having a problem, couldn't you? But you wouldn't have seen what we saw without someone operating it. Yeah, you look, you can see, oh, there's a bit of... So you really have to look, Now that could be missed quite easily by somebody, couldn't it? This is exactly what I mean, you know. And yeah, I don't think it would have been missed on an MOT, but a single vehicle testing, you know, you wouldn't see it doing that thing of pushing out and then sucking back in, you know. And look, I can move this around. Look, you see it's starting to do that? It's starting to, fluids appearing where I'm moving it, bubbling and so on, where I'm moving this around. Look, you see, yeah. But, you know, with that cover on there, you can't, you know, even here it's all bagging up. It's not nice, is it? But we've taken that cover off and started moving that around. You know, when that cover's on, so let's look at this side, that one. Not so easy to get up in there, is it? You know, and do that. So I'm not suggesting that that would have been missed by an MOT tester. I'm just suggesting that it could have been. And imagine 2 years down the line, or longer, you know, if it was on 2 years MOTing, you know, yeah, but even longer down the line, you know, 5, 6 years. Oh, you know, you know what we've just been through, where people weren't going out and meeting each other and so on, you know, and doing much, or going to classic car do's. These things could have laid dormant for a couple of years. Then, oh well, we get out in it. Oh, what about an MOT? Oh, they're really booked up, because a lot of them are. Oh, you know, it doesn't matter, does it? You know, it doesn't need an MOT. And then you have something like that, and then that bursts, doesn't it? And then you lose your brakes. Now this is a dual circuit on the hydraulic system, so you won't lose all your brakes. But an older car with single circuit brakes, which a lot of the old ones do, like the little 600 of mine and those Fiat 500s, you have a problem like that, that's it. You've lost all your hydraulics, so you've got no brakes, and you know, and pitiful handbrakes on some of them as well. But you know, you don't want to be relying on that. If something like that's going to burst, it's only going to burst when you're actually really, really hammering on the brakes, you know. And if it goes of a sudden and the pedal goes to the floor, well, oh, you know, you pump the pedal, don't you? You bring the foot off the pedal and push it down again. Well, of course, it's going to not do anything other than push the fluid out of it. So, yeah, so this one, I've got new hoses in. So we'll have a look at the new hoses. And it'll be illuminating to see what they look like. So, got a full set of hoses in. So there's that one, isn't it? That's that one. Now, I reckon that might be just a touch shorter, which might fit a bit better, mightn't it? I don't know. Look, there's a bit less, oh, maybe I might be making that up. It's about the same, actually, isn't it? But anyway, it looks better, doesn't it? But yeah, as I say, These have got silver cad plating on them, haven't they, rather than the gold. So this is obviously different to these. I mean, hopefully they're of better quality. But you see, these don't look that old. This is what I mean. But, you know, they could be. They must be of a fair age for that to happen. And we don't know how old they were, how long they've been on the shelf before they're fitted. But as I say, these aren't original. These have been replaced. You know, you can see they're not the original ones. But yeah, so as I say, it's telling, isn't it? When they were done, and now they're no good. But anyway, we've got a full set of these, so we'll do the lot, won't we? So we just have a look at those. That's the front. That's this rear one. So I reckon this might be a bit better on the rear here, because look, that's a bit more like it, isn't it, lengthwise? You see, that's a bit more, it's not so long as that, because I don't think that should loop round so much like that. I reckon that's the wrong hose. This one looks far better. So we'll sort this one out, improve it as we go. So there we are. Anyway, I don't know about you, but I'm going home and I'm going to do this on Monday. So I say good night.